Thank you, Kelly. It's really good to be back. And I love that this is a play session. And just 30 seconds ago, it occurred to me that what makes it a play session is that it's largely spontaneous, unrehearsed, with minimal agenda or concept of outcomes. I woke up in the middle of the night and couldn't sleep for quite some time. And when that happens, I know it's a big day. And there's something about this topic of the awakened state of structure and planning in the new paradigm of business that to me feels very significant, very timely. It's also non-incremental, it's a leap. We're not talking about a somewhat more conscious version of business. We're going for it. We're going for awakened business, the awakened state in business, contributing something to the world at a whole other order of impact and luminosity. So that's a tall order for 12 minutes. I don't know how I'll do it. That's where the spontaneity comes in, and we're just going to let it flow a bit. But I do have a couple of slides to structure this time and also serve as takeaways. So you'll have a link to the slides afterwards. And that's significant because there's a lot of information on one of them. So let me share my screen. And here we go. So I woke up this morning with some clarity around the shift that we're going through in the world and especially in relation to business. And it's partly inspired by a session I had last week with a very successful person in the financial services world. And she has a business advising people around wealth. And suddenly, she has no motivation anymore for this business. She's been operating in the paradigm of pushing and striving and competing and being amazing, which is coming from fear and ego and the need to control circumstances, to look good, for instance, to outperform, to achieve some kind of predictable outcome that we can then take to the bank. And it's not bad. It's just not working very well now. And a funny thing happens as we shift out of this mode. There is, anyway, the possibility that we lose our motivation because suddenly the usual markers and milestones are not working. We're not able to feel the excitement around the next achievement because we're not coming from ego anymore. It doesn't mean there is no ego, but it's not the primary motivator. Now, in this shift, we're shifting to something quite beautiful, which is love and trust and alignment with those around us, with the natural world, with ecosystems, with life, with spirit, if we have such a relationship, finding a holistic alignment with all that is. And so these times are characterized by an invitation to step into allowing life to bring to us a lot of beauty and a lot of enjoyment. We talked about enjoyment last time, appreciating one another, appreciating what's working, especially building on what's working rather than what isn't, and attempting to fix all the time what isn't working. It actually doesn't work very well because there's no life in trying to fix what isn't working. What isn't working tends to get fixed within the context of appreciating life and appreciating what is alive and what is beautiful and what brings joy. And in this, let's call it new paradigm of business, we're collaborating, we're co-creating more than we are competing. And by the way, it's funny, I was getting to add the word cooperating next to competing because I could see that, at least the way I've experienced cooperation, it's sort of an agreement to support one another essentially so that we can compete together. Now, in the collaborative mode and in the co-creative mode, it's a widening circle of alignment and harmony with more and more people where the intention isn't to win or beat others. The intention is to create beauty and, of course, sustainability. Now, this process continues because as we really deepen into allowing and appreciating and especially co-creating, we're now co-creating with the natural world because our circle has widened to include the trees and the flora and the fauna and rivers. Rivers, for instance, are getting the rights of nature in places like New Zealand and India. So the rights of nature is essentially saying these nature beings have the same rights that you and I have. So human rights, you could say, for nature. And in this more advanced state of harmonization with nature, we discover, because there are no hard and fast boundaries between us and the world around us, that we are nature. And our businesses are nature. We talked about this just a little bit last time, that our businesses are not in service to nature only. We're not only stewards, we actually are that which we're serving. And so there's this virtuous circle of life, which is us. It's flowing through us, it's flowing in us. And so we don't have externalities. We're not pushing negative environmental impacts on the world because we wouldn't think to do that in the first place. We'd be much too conscious for that. So a lot of the wicked problems that we face in the world right now are because we're largely, or we have been, I feel this shift is strongly occurring. We've been operating in this fear, ego control mindset, and we're moving quickly into love and trust and alignment. And we'll get to being nature. That's coming. It's important to know where we're going so that we can more fully be where we are. And then beyond being nature is being true nature. And this is what I would characterize as being awakeness. And I use all capital letters here. So it's a beautiful journey. I'm glad that we're on it together. And I'd like to show you, this is where I have no idea how it's going to work for time. So I'll just have to be very selective in what I share in the next 5 minutes. But the top of this matrix, I'll zoom in one, maybe two, one. The top of this matrix, you could say, describes the well-known organizations. And there's a book called Reinventing Organizations, which I recommend to everyone. It is great. It was published in 2014 by Frederick Laloux, and he talks about the evolution of consciousness in organizations over millennia. And in that book, the leading edge is called teal, which is here. And in teal organizations, we've already largely shifted out of fear-based leadership styles, and there is self-management more and more. There is an appreciation for the purpose of organizations and the fact that organizations are themselves evolving. And there's a great appreciation for wholeness. So in a teal organization, we can bring all of ourselves to work. That includes our intuitive sides. So we get to play more, we get to show up more fully. Now, where it gets really interesting for me, and this is the new stuff, this is a whole body of work actually, is what's after the quote teal organization. And we move into essentially uncharted waters. So in 2016, I meditated for 2 weeks on what might more evolved, more awakened organizations look like, and what might be some key words that would describe how they have evolved. And I want to focus on turquoise, because the first word that came to me in that meditation, like literally in the first 5 seconds, was the word joy. So as we shift from fear up here in the red, and we shift towards love down here, love is actually throughout, but it's really the awareness of love and the embodiment of love and bringing love into everything we do that we're talking about. So love can't be localized anywhere on this map. It's really all about love. A key step into that, though, is this turquoise stage of organizational consciousness development. And again, the word joy came to me. Joy is absolutely central. Last time I mentioned that somebody, Daniel Priestley, said, if you're not talking about love, or if your business is not talking about love, you will not be in business much longer. I'm paraphrasing. And the L word is big in the sense that it's hard to know what to do with it, because it's really the point of everything. But how do you act on the point of everything? So the way to act on the point of everything is joy. Seek joy. Notice what you're enjoying, because that's a guidance mechanism in these wild and crazy turbulent times. What brings us enjoyment is a reliable pointer to which direction to go, because we can't see the outcome. Those days are done. but we can feel our way one step at a time. And so when we're building an organization, and of course there will be structures and there will be processes and there will be planning and there will be all kinds of key activities optimized for joy. And it's actually not irresponsible. It's very responsible because it's what works. It's what motivates people. There's a huge crisis of employees who are disempowered, disenfranchised, not engaged. And joy is the antidote to all of that. And there are a few other features of the turquoise organization. Probably we could have a longer session, maybe a full session devoted to unpacking these stages, because it would be of great benefit to do so. I do want to note one thing though, which is beyond turquoise in this coral region, this is where we really bring it with the intuition. And I use sourcing as a word to describe going into the roots of our being and coming back with practical wisdom and guidance that can help us day to day to run our businesses and do beautiful things with them and make a difference in the world. At this level of coral, there's another interesting thing that occurs, which is accomplishing via non-doing. It's magical. As we become really conscious and really awake, and of course there's still more to go past coral, but at this point, we discover that the world is working better and better and better, and we're doing less and less and less to make it so. Our businesses are more and more successful and profitable with less and less pushing, certainly less pushing and striving, but almost seemingly no work at all. And what we're doing, we wouldn't even call work because it's so joyful. So let's come back to joy. And there are a couple of questions that I would love us to explore in the breakouts next. And I know Kelly will introduce them, but let me see if I can possibly bring them up. And I can't because, okay, my mouse wasn't responding, but now it is. So I'm curious, where is your business on the spectrum from fear, ego, control to love, trust, and alignment? And also, what would a more joyful version of your business look, feel, and taste like? So again, where are you now? Where is your business now in this evolutionary journey from fear to love? And what would the joyful version of your business taste like? Thank you.